Hey guys, so this is just a quick message before I start up that the audio in this one was a bit all over the place. It went a bit crap at various points. So if you want to check out my Letterboxd account, just search William F or William Fletcher. You should be able to find it, and you can check out the films that I watched in this month. If you don't want to listen to the crap audio that is present in this episode, but if you do decide to listen, hopefully you enjoy. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode About the Movies with William Fletcher. As per usual, I'm your host, William Fletcher, and this episode will be what I watched this month. I'll be discussing the films I watched this month. First off, I started off the month by watching Bride of Frankenstein, which I really liked, actually. I've seen the original sometime last year, which I discussed in what films I watched this month, and I thought Bride of Frankenstein was a big improvement. I thought there was a lot more good stuff that it was working with. Personally, I thought it worked a lot better than the original Frankenstein. I do really like the original Frankenstein film, but I just think Bride of Frankenstein worked a lot better. I thought it had more emotion to it. I thought the performances were better. I thought the characters worked a lot better. I thought everything in it worked a lot better. And I will watch Son of Frankenstein at some point, but it's very good. I'm meaning to watch more of the Universal monster films. I've only seen a couple so far. I've seen the Frankenstein's Bride of Frankenstein. I did the 1931 Dracula with Bela Lugosi, which is fine, but I think the Frankenstein films have definitely been superior. But then I watched through all the Jackass films. Jackass 1, 2, 3, and then I saw 4, and then I also saw Bad Grandpa after I saw 4. So I guess I'll sort of discuss Bad Grandpa first, because that's a bit separate. So, yeah, I thought it was perfectly fine. The emotional bits didn't really work for me as well as they obviously were intending to. I thought it was all pretty fine, but it wasn't like anything amazing. A perfectly decent, watchable film, but had some nice moments in it. And then the Jackass films themselves. The first one is the week. I think they got progressively better as they went along. The first one is good, but nothing. But well, like it's fine. It's a decent movie, but it's nothing like amazing. Then I felt the second one really upped the ante and got a lot better. Then the third one I thought was very funny. Had some of my favorite stunts and bits that they did across the entire franchise. And then Jackass Forever, my personal favorite of the four. I thought it was a very nice film. The opening sequence I thought was very funny. I saw Jackass Forever like the weekend after it came out. I thought it was very enjoyable, very funny. Has some really great bits. The opening sequence, yeah, is absolutely hysterical. I really enjoyed the new cast members they got involved. Who so like Jasper and Rachel and Zach and Poopies. I thought they were great additions to the cast, along with the original crew of Knoxville, Steve-O, Aaron, Wee-Man, Pontius, Dave, England, Preston. The films are all. I mean, they're not exactly highbrow human. They're definitely nothing like amazing. Like you're not gonna go see a Jackass film for a great film or like great performances or anything. You're just gonna see, some guys just dicking about and hurting each other, and if that's what you go to see, like, and if that's what you go to them, that's like if you go to see a Jackass film, that's what you're going to get. And if you go in expecting that, then you won't be disappointed, because that's kind of what the films are. It's just friends fucking about and hurting each other. It's I felt, it did feel interesting and kind of a bit disappointing that Bam wasn't in Jackass 4. I thought he had some really good stuff in the other ones, but I understand why they couldn't put him in it. He had problems. He wasn't he was drinking and he was doing drugs and he was doing all these things, and he just was being a liability to production. So I understand why they didn't have him come back for this one. Well, why they wanted him to come back, but he fucked around and he fucked up and he failed the drug tests, and they just had to kick him off. And I understand why they had to. It was disappointing. And if you've seen Jackass Traffic, you do see at one point there is Knoxville said before the film came out that Bam did do one of the stunts while shooting, so you do see Bam in the final film, albeit briefly. It's but Jackass Forever, a very solid, the best one of the series in my opinion. I thought it was very enjoyable, and I quite liked it. Yeah, I thought it did a lot. I thought it was really a solid, good time. Had some great funny bits and a really nice touching tribute at the end to for Ryan Dunn, who passed away a few years ago. So then I watched Goodfellas. After that, I watched Goodfellas for the first time, which was excellent. Goodfellas is amazing. I was very nervous going in because I thought there's a very good chance this won't be as good and I'll find it to be overrated. But I didn't actually. I really, really loved it, dare I say. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. It was what the fuck? I was gonna say Johnny Knoxville for some reason. It was it was phenomenal. Honestly, it was phenomenal. It was everything I expected from it and more. I just loved everything in it. Ray Liotta gave an excellent lead performance. Robert De Niro is very good, but Joe Pesci as Tommy was outstanding. Like that is a all-time performance there. That a lot of actors. I think I've sort of talked about this before. And or if not, I'm sort of going to give my opinion that I think pretty much 90% of actors will give a performance in their career that is like a godsend. Like it is like a performance that is better than anything they will ever do. Either it'll happen early in their career, it'll happen later in their career. Like I think, for example, Leo DiCaprio's greatest performance is Jordan Belfort in Wolf of Wall Street. For example, Heath Ledger as the Joker in The Dark Knight. Nicolas Cage in Leaving Las Vegas, and so on and so forth. A lot of actors have those performances that are like career defining and arguably their greatest works that they will never top. And that was Joe Pesci in Goodfellas. It was absolutely fantastic, truly masterful performance, great acting, the best I've seen of him. I haven't seen him in like a lot, but I've seen him in a couple things, and I think the only other things I can really think of seeing him in were the Home Alone films, which are very different kinds of films in terms of obviously they're different because they're more kid-orientated films. I've seen 3 Joe Pesci films, Goodfellas and the 2 Home Alone films that he did. But yeah, Goodfellas is absolutely fantastic. It's a masterpiece. It's very surprising it didn't win the Oscar for Best Picture that year. But if you I don't really know what else to say about Goodfellas because it's a film that everybody talks about, everybody loves. People have probably analyzed the shit out of it because this is like classic Scorsese. It's just a classic film of our time. It's completely and utter masterful, and if you haven't seen it, just go watch it because it's Goodfellas and you should watch it. Then I watched 50 Shades of Grey. I covered that on the podcast, the Valentine's Day special. So go check that out and go listen to my thoughts on it. I have lots of thoughts. Basically, it's not good. That's all I'm gonna say. I didn't like it. Then I watched the first 3 Nightmare on Elm Street films. So, the first one, I'm going to quickfire this. First one, good. Not as good as everyone says it is. A tad, I would say, overrated, but still enjoyable, and I still quite liked it. Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge, was actually not very good. I was disappointed by it. And then Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors, probably my favorite of them. I thought it was very enjoyable. So the first one, yeah, it's like a classic 80s slasher. It's very entertaining. I really liked it. Had some really great creepy stuff in it, and had some not as good stuff in it, but certainly a good film. I thought Robert Englund gave a very good performance as Freddy Krueger. I thought he was very solid in it. But I definitely wasn't as scared by it as I feel like I should have been. I don't know if it's because I've seen so many parodies and I've seen so many other like more modern horror stuff that I just wasn't as creeped out by it. But definitely like well worth checking out if you haven't seen it. You know, it's like a staple of 80s horror, and it's definitely a film everyone should watch at some point in their life. Then the second one yet was just a massive disappointment. The opening scene though I thought was very well done. The bus scene where if you've seen the film you kind of know what I mean. But like each scene in every Friday in Nightmare on Elm Street has like a really creepy, cool, like scary scene. Like in the first one it's like the body bag scene with Nancy's friend. Then in the and to be fair, arguably the scene with in the first one, I forgot the characters' names, but it's Nancy's friend and Nancy's friend's boyfriend, and then she bad shit happens and she kind of has to die. The ending though of the first one, it feels a bit weird. It's kind of like, why did you do that? That just doesn't really work as well. Then the second one. The opening scene on the bus in the second one, really good, really effective. The rest of it was just kind of meh. I didn't really care for it. I didn't really care for any of the characters. I just didn't have any real interest in seeing where it was going. And then the third one I thought was very fun. I really liked how all the characters, how there's people who team up together to fight Freddy Krueger. I thought that was really, really great, really enjoyable stuff, really fun to see these people fight Freddy and defeat Freddy. I thought that was very, very well done, very effective, very enjoyable, and it's definitely my favorite of the three. So definitely, overrated franchise, I'd say, but I still enjoyed the stuff I watched. Then I rewatched Zootopia, which I believe I covered in what I watched this month in March of last year, I believe. So I don't really feel like I should go over it again. Just really enjoyable. Really, really liked it. Still very good. I don't know if it's better than my one. I'll have to rewatch that. Then I watched The Mitchells vs. Machines. I'm not going to talk about that too much here because I will more than likely cover that in my Oscars episode. But suffice to say, I enjoyed it. I thought it was enjoyable. Had some really good stuff in it. Chris Miller, Phil Lord are excellent. I think they are fantastic, and I can't wait to see what they do with Across the Spider-Verse. Then I watched Pretty Woman for the first time on Valentine's Day, because, I figured I should probably watch a film for Valentine's Day, and I thought Pretty Woman was probably the best one to fit there. I thought it was very enjoyable. Julia Roberts was gave a very good performance. I thought the chemistry between the two actors, and it's Julia Roberts and I forget the guy's name in it. He's like, I know the actor. I was gonna say Christian Slater, but it's not Christian Slater. It's Richard Gere. I thought they had very good chemistry. I thought Julia Roberts was definitely the better of the two performances. Perfectly enjoyable film, but and definitely a good film. I didn't dislike it, but it's certainly a film I'm not gonna rewatch over and over again. But I'll definitely watch it a couple more times in my life because I did enjoy the experience. There were some bits that didn't really work as well as they should have. Like there's the attempted the scene where someone attempts to assault Julia Roberts' character. That felt a bit just felt a bit off to me personally. I didn't really like it, and it did it didn't necessarily come out of nowhere, but it definitely wasn't like kind of came out of nowhere, kind of didn't though. It just was not that wasn't a particularly fun scene, but overall an enjoyable film, and I quite liked it. Then I rewatched Hot Fuzz. It was the film's 15th anniversary on the 15th of February, so I rewatched it. I loved it. Hot Fuzz was one of my all-time favorite films. I absolutely love it to bits. I think I've discussed this before. My love for Hot Fuzz. I think I might have even discussed it in what I watched this month before. I definitely have. Oh, maybe I haven't. I've definitely talked. I feel like I must have mentioned my love for Hot Fuzz. My personal favorite of Edgar Wright's film. No, I did talk about this. In my Edgar Wright ranked, my list of Edgar Wright films ranked. I discussed it there. It still holds up. It's still absolutely fantastic. Really, really loved it. And it's still the best Edgar Wright film in my honest opinion. And then I went to see the Kenneth Branagh Death in the Nile remake, which was fine. I quite liked it. It was a bit hard to watch, considering it wasn't hard to watch. It just was like a bit awkward to watch Armie Hammer in a film, considering what he did. But yeah, it's perfectly enjoyable, perfectly decent. It was a fun time. It just wasn't anything I'm like gonna watch again anytime soon. But perfectly enjoyable, decent performances. Kenneth Branagh, though, I didn't actually really like Kenneth Branagh in it. I don't think he's a good actor. The best thing I've seen him do was Harry Potter, and that was just because he was a bit camp, a bit over the top and dramatic. But I really liked him in Harry Potter, and I didn't particularly care for him in this. But still, enjoyable film. Definitely nothing amazing, but decent stuff. Then I watched 127 Hours. I love Danny Boyle. I've come to this realization because I covered 28 Days Later about a month ago on the podcast, which you should go listen to that one. And then I also watched Trainspotting, which I covered in what films I watched this month. I loved it. And 28 Days Later, no it's not. Sorry, I fucked up. It's 127 Hours is better than 28 Days Later, but not as good as Trainspotting, which I think most people would agree Trainspotting is the best of Danny Boyle. Really good stuff. It's not Dave Franco, it's James Franco. Really good performance. Again, it's kind of difficult to watch films with him because he's a bad person, but really good film. I really enjoyed how much of the film was just James Franco stuck. I thought it was really good. You get really good performances, really fun, really not fun, but definitely very enjoyable stuff. And yeah, it was just a really great film that I really, really loved. It was absolutely fantastic, and I do recommend you go check it out if you haven't seen it already. I mean, just for the James Franco performance alone, it was excellent. And I watched Hunt for the Wilder People, a Taika Waititi film. I think I've discussed how much I like Taika Waititi in my What We Do in the Shadows episode, but I don't like Jojo Rabbit, which we covered in my Jojo Rabbit episode. This is probably... It's better than Jojo Rabbit, but it's not as good as Thor Ragnarok or What We Do in the Shadows. But still an enjoyable film. I quite liked it. Had some decent stuff in it. Wasn't amazing or anything, but... it's a fun kids film, It's like a film you can pop on with your kids, and they'll probably get something out of it. I thought the two leads, Sam Neill and, I always forget that kid's name. He's in, like, everything. He's in, like, bloody Subway commercials right at the moment. Julian Dennison. Yeah, definitely enjoyable film. Definitely a very watchable film. Definitely not Taika's best, but I definitely liked it. Definitely enjoyable. It's definitely well worth watch if you're a fan of Taika Waititi films, but definitely not a film I'm losing my mind over and think is like an all-time masterpiece. And then finally, I ended off the month with Louis Theroux's Surviving America's Most Hated Family. So I watched through Louis Theroux, The Most Hated Family in America. I covered that on one of these previous what films I watched this month. And this is sort of him basically coming back to that family like about 10 years later. Very, very good documentary. Louis Theroux makes very, very good documentaries. He's a very great documentary filmmaker, and it's very good. It's not as good as The Most Hated Family in America or Louis and the Nazis, but it's still definitely a very, very good documentary that's well worth checking out. I do recommend that you go check out Louis Theroux's documentaries, because he makes very, very good, very well researched, very well made and produced documentaries. They're very basic. It's definitely something that I recommend you all go check out at some point. And that is all the films that I watched in the past month. So I really hope you enjoyed listening to this week's episode. Sorry if the audio sounds a bit different. It's just in a new place again. I keep moving around in places for recording, just testing things out basically. So I really hope, so I hope that isn't too much of a distraction. So I really hope you enjoyed this week's episode. There's definitely going to be some big stuff coming. We've got some big films coming out next month. We've got The Batman is like the big main film that's coming out. There's some other stuff. The new Pixar film, Turning Red. There's going to be some really great stuff. So you'll hopefully hear my thoughts on those next month. So thank you all for listening to this week's episode, and I will see all of you guys in the next one. Bye.